Hey guys, Will here with CreateStudio, and in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to create a text animation inside of CreateStudio Pro. Alright, so let's play back this animation and see what the final product looks like so you know what you're going to be creating. Alright, so we've got several things going on here. We've got the text profile bubbles, right? And then we've got the actual text bubbles themselves and the animation of it moving up screen on the iPhone with a white background. Alright, so let's go ahead and recreate this. So let's delete this finished product here and start from scratch. Alright. So the first thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and create a shape so I can create my background. So let's go over here to shape, and I'm going to go ahead and select a rectangle. And once I've got that rectangle in there, I'm going to go ahead and expand it out so it's the size of my canvas. And then I'm going to come over here to settings, and I'm going to go to color, and let's change that to make it white. All right, so drag your color wheel to white. And once we've got that set, let's kind of come over here to our rounded rectangle, and let's rename it, and let's call it background. All right. It's part of staying organized there. I'm gonna go ahead and expand this out a little bit so I've got some room to work with. And now the next thing I wanna do is let's bring in the iPhone itself, the frame. So I'm gonna go over here to my media, and I've got some assets already in here, and let's go ahead and drag in my iPhone frame. All right, so here's my iPhone frame, and the only thing I wanna do to it is I'm gonna go ahead and scale it up to, you can go 116, 120, your call, but it's just gotta fill out the canvas size there. So you really only seen the sides of the iPhone. All right, again, I'm gonna go ahead and drag this guy out, and let's go ahead and rename this guy, and let's just keep it just iPhone, right? Apple iPhone. All right, so now what I can do is I need to create the screen for the iPhone. So let's go over here to shape, select it, and then let's create a square shape here. And then all I gotta do is let's resize this shape to fill in these sides of this iPhone. So if you hold shift on your keyboard and then select one of the squares here, you can resize kind of the bottoms and the tops there at the same time, and kind of makes it a little easier to resize a little faster. All right, so you don't have to be perfect, but it does have to just kind of go out of frame and then cover the black sides of the iPhone over here. All right, so I'm gonna maximize this to be the size of the rest of my sequence here, and I'm gonna go ahead and move up my square, and then I'm gonna move my iPhone up one, and then drag my square blue screen in between the Apple iPhone and the background. So now it is now behind the iPhone, so it's masked behind it in a special way. It's not really masked, but it just kind of looks like it is. All right, so let's go ahead and rename this square, and let's call it screen. And now our basic setup is good, right? We've got the foundation for the text messages to come up the screen. All right, so now we're ready to add our text bubbles and our profile images, right? So we can get the stuff we need so we can animate it to go up screen on our iPhone here. All right, so first steps, let's go ahead and add the picture of the girl so we can create her profile bubble first. So let's go ahead and go to my media, into my files, and I've got her picture right here, and I'm just gonna drag it onto my canvas here. All right, so the first thing I wanna do is I'm gonna extend her out to be the length of all of my clips here, but I'm gonna go ahead and resize her in my settings, and I'm gonna scale her down a little bit. Just about right there is pretty good. And then so her profile picture is inside of a bubble, right? So we need to create a circle so we can mask that circle to each other, so that way we can get her to be inside the bubble. So let's go ahead and click on shape, select the circle, and then let's drag the circle out to be the length of the picture. And we can resize the circle if we want to, maybe bring it down just a little bit. And we'll start with that for right now. And then what we can do is we need to mask the circle to the picture, right? So let's go ahead and select our circle by left clicking it, holding shift on your keyboard, and then selecting the girl's picture. And then what I can do now is right click anywhere on the circle or the girl, doesn't matter, and then select mask. All right, and there it is. It's almost like the perfect frame that we're looking for, honestly. But if you did want to resize it because it wasn't in the spot that you wanted, maybe she was left a little bit or right, what you can do is you can double click on her picture, and then now you can see the circle that was masked to her, and you can move that around. You can also resize it, make it a little tighter if you want, but find a good spot that best fits for you. And then once you're done, click off of it, and then you've got a good little profile circle there. So a pretty cool way to do that. So what I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna go ahead and group this picture. So just go ahead and right click the picture and then select group. All right, now let's double click inside that group. And this is where we're gonna create our canvas to be a kind of landscape, not a landscape, a portrait style strip, kind of like our iPhone size, right? So what I can do is I'm gonna go ahead and click edit manually over here in my group settings. And I'm just gonna drag this down to be a bigger box, right? See how it's getting long? So this is where my text files are actually gonna go when I finish creating them. So that looks pretty good so far. I'm actually going to make this a little wider and bring it down a little more. So I think that's pretty good the way it is. All right, so make sure after you finish resizing, you click on Finish Editing. And then now what I'm going to do is I'm going to group this image one more time. All right, so go ahead and right click it, click on a group, and then let's go inside this group. So this is the group now inside here where I'm going to create the actual text bubbles with the profile and line them up nicely. All right, so let's go ahead and we need to edit this group setting as well, the boundaries. So go ahead and select Edit manually again. And then let's go ahead and expand this out to the right and to the left a little bit. We just need some room to work to add in and size up our bubble with our text bubble. All right, so let's go ahead and select her, click Finish Editing first. And then let's resize her and let's make her about right there. That's not too bad. And then what we're gonna do is we need to create our text bubble now. So let's go ahead and go over to our left column here and scroll down to where it says Components. Open them up, and then you're looking for Text Box. So go ahead and drag your text box into your canvas. All right. And now we've got a blanket text box that we can edit and manipulate and make our own. All right. So what I'm going to do first is let's change the background first. So with that text box selected, let's go ahead and resize this out for the full size here. And with that text box selected, come over here and we're going to change the background color. Right now it's black. You can change it to whatever color you like. I'm going to go ahead and change it to this green color. All right. Next thing I want to do is I'm going to change the font. And we're going to go with the Roboto font here and select that. And then we're going to adjust the weight of that font to be medium. All right. Next thing I want to do is set the alignment to be left justified. So right here in Align, choose the left justification. And then let's go ahead and trim in our text box a little bit and make it to where it's a little bit bigger there. All right. So that's looking pretty good so far. And what I want to do now is let's go ahead and round out our edges, because right now this text box is a square box. So what I want to do is, if you see these little circles that are below the resizing squares on this text box, if you hover over one of them, they turn into a crosshair. Now if you left click and drag towards the center, they will then round out really nicely, and you can create the size of the box that you want, right? So I think about right here is looking pretty good, your standard text bubble there. And now let's change the message, right? So I've got a text file off to the side that you can't see, but I'm just gonna go ahead and copy and paste the text into this bubble here. That way you don't gotta see me type a whole bunch. All right, so let's go ahead and paste this in here. And this will be the first message that pops up on screen. Now what you can do is you can align these a little better, kind of center them up, get them to your liking. And then when you're ready, we can go back to this main group here. And you can see that we'll resize this in a second, but this is where that first one will be. But let's rename this group and let's call it text one. All right, so stay organized here. All right, now let's resize our text group here by selecting text one, come over to properties, and we can scale this down a little bit to fit in the actual frame here of our canvas. All right, so far so good. I'm just gonna resize just a little bit more, probably about right there. And actually, you know what I can do? Let's go ahead and just make this a little wider. All right, that way we have a little bit more room to work. All right, so that's looking pretty good. So that's our first text. Now the cool thing about this is that we've already created the foundation for the picture and the text bubble. So we don't have to really recreate it again. What I can do is I can just duplicate this text one and then kind of tweak it from there. So let's go ahead and select text one in your timeline and then come over here and select duplicate. All right, so there's a duplicate text one. So what I'm gonna do is rename it. So right click it, rename, and let's call it text two. All right, and we got it. So let's go ahead and move it down the line just a little bit. And then let's go ahead and go inside this text two group. All right, so now we're gonna create the profile bubble and the text box for the guy's conversation. So to kind of help spread this out, his bubble is going to be on the right side, all right, as opposed to hers on the left, and then we'll move his text box over just a smidge. Now let's edit his text box. So his text box is going to be this kind of gray color, and his text color itself is going to be black. All right, now we need to change his profile picture. So his picture is actually going to be swapped out with hers. So all we have to do is select her picture, come over here to replace media, And then wherever your picture is in your My Files, he's right here for me. And then you can see the minute I selected him, he appeared in the bubble. So you don't really have to do double the work, right? Which is nice. Now his resizing needs to be adjusted. So again, like I mentioned before, if you double click on it, you can then just resize, reposition the bubble to match where you want it to be. And once you got a good spot, just click off and there he is. And again, now I can kind of reframe him a little bit, get him closer to his bubble, and we're looking pretty good. All right, so let's go back to the group here. And as you can see that if I select text 2, I need to bring him down about right here. Okay. Now the things that I didn't do in the first text was I need to click on go inside text 1 and add some animations to the text file and to the bubble itself. So what you can do is, let's drag this text file underneath just for my own purposes here. And I'm gonna go ahead and drag her out just a little bit. And then we're gonna add a motion animation. So select the text, or the picture I should say, go to motion, and then choose scale back up. All right, and we're gonna choose easing on that to be back, so make sure it says back. And then I'm just gonna trim it down just a little bit. And the same thing for the text file. Select the text file, come over to motion, and then choose scale back up. All right, and make sure you're on the back for easing on that. And again, I'm gonna go ahead and just trim that down. So now you get this kind of more bubbly pop in, right? And you can adjust the timing of that, make it happen a little faster, a little slower by adjusting the speed of the animation there. So that's kind of what I'm looking for right there. All right, so now if I go back to the group, you can then see how it pops in there. It looks nice. Now I'll have to do that with him real quick. So let's go back in text 2. I'll bring my text down to the bottom there. And let's go into, let's bring him out just a smidge. I have him start like maybe a frame late, just so it kind of gives it a little more of a cool feel. But again, select your picture, go to motion, select scale, and then back up. All right, make sure your easing's on back. And then on the text file, the same motion, go to scale, and then back up. All right, and again, we can trim these down just a little bit so they don't happen so slow there. And let's see what that looks like. See, it's happening a little too fast, so let's bring them out. There we go, much better. All right, so I do need to change the text on this guy though. So let's go ahead and let me copy the text from my little document over here, and then let's repaste that into here and get that to, there we go. All right, so that's his response to her first message, right? So let's go back out to the group here. And then as you can see that she pops in and then he comes in. Now what I can do is I can resize his pop in a little bit, make him come down a little bit further, so there's a little more space between the two. All right, so now what we can do, now we have a profile set up for both her and his text, right? So we don't have to really recreate a lot except just change the text inside the bubbles. So the next response is gonna be from her, so all I have to do is duplicate text 1, right? And then you can see it made a copy of text 1. So let's drag that up above text 2. And then let's just move this down the line here. Let's go ahead and rename that duplicate of text 1 and let's call it text 3. And then let's go ahead and select text 2 and 3 and drop them down so they're all in a line right here. All right, so let's go inside of text 3 real quick. All right, so let's go ahead and all we have to do is change her text. So if I go over to my text document, and again, y'all may have a different script, right? But I'm just kind of reduplicating the scene here. So if I paste this in here, and then now I've got her response. Great, we're experts in paid ads. So what I can do is then go back to the group, select text 3, and then move her down right below his last response there. All right, so far so good. I like what we're seeing here. And let's go ahead and add his response to her. So again, all I have to do is I can select text 2 and you know that it's the response you're looking for because you see the box around it. So I'll duplicate text 2. So select it, click on duplicate, and then drag it above text 3. And let's go ahead and move these down just to keep them in line. And I'll right click, rename, and let's call this text 4. All right, so let's go inside text 4. And again, all I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna change the text. So I'm gonna come over to my text document and put the response for the guy inside of this text here. So now he's got his second response there. And I'm gonna go ahead and select text 4 and then pull it down so it's right below. So I'm creating the document essentially for the image to come up, right? So we've got her, he's responding, she's responding to him, and then now we just need 2 more text files to keep this going, right? So let's go ahead and duplicate text 3 because that's her response. Pull it above text 4, and then let's just bring these down real quick. Let's rename text 3 and the duplicate that we had, and let's call it text 5. All right, looking so pretty good. Now let's open up text 5 and let's change her response, and let's go ahead and make it what she would say to book a call with her. And let's go back to the group, select text 5, and let's pull her down right below his message. And let's just finish it off. Why not? Let's keep it even. 6 messages total. Let's go ahead and duplicate text 4 because that's his response, right? And I needed to manipulate him. So text 4, click on duplicate, pull that above text 5, and then let's go ahead and drag those down so they're all in line. Rename your duplicate text 4. Let's call it text 6. And then let's go inside text 6 and let's go ahead and change it to his last response. He's real excited and he says, perfect, right? So we'll go back to the main group there. And then let's select text 6 and drag his perfect response down to the bottom here. All right. So we're looking pretty good now. You can see that there is our conversation that happened there. And now what we can do is it's ready for animation. It's ready to go to the iPhone screen and for us to animate it going up the screen there. All right. So just one thing to point out too, again, is that if you want to change the duration between each of these text bubbles, you just adjust the text above it. So maybe you think that text 1 is hanging too long, then bring in text 2 a little bit closer, right? That's just kind of how it works. Same thing with all the way up. All right, so let's go back to our main group here and let's go ahead and get ready to animate this guy. All right, so what I can do is this group, let's rename it and let's call it our text slide. All right, that's pretty good. And so basically what I need to do is she pops in at the top, but I want her to start at the bottom. All right, now I do want to resize this a little bit. It's looking a little small. So let's select text slide, go to properties, and let's just scale it up a little bit. All right, and then let's see what that looks like right there. Oh yeah, there we go, it's perfect. All right, so I'm gonna have her start right here, okay? And then what that does is it allows me, so you can see that she pops in nicely, and then he comes in shortly after, but we're gonna animate that position to go up the screen. So let's go ahead and right click and let's go to add animation and let's add a position. All right. So I'll select the first position and that's gonna be where she's at right now. And let's select the second position and let's pull him up like that. All right. So now what we can do is we can adjust our keyframes so they match where we want it to play. So right now his bubble's popping in off screen, but I want that to happen on screen. So let's go ahead and pull this slider a little bit back and see where that gets us. Still a little bit, let's go a little bit further back and let's see. There we go. Now we're looking good. So it plays out, she pops her message in, he comes in, and then now we're ready for our third message to come in there. All right, so what we can do is then add another animation, and let's go ahead and select a position again. And then your first keyframe starting position for this is the same thing. It's that same position it's already at. And we're gonna select our second keyframe here and then just move it on up again. All right, and let's see where that puts us. Again, it's the animation is happening off screen or kind of off screen as it comes in. So we can adjust that by putting our cursor between the 2 keyframes. There's like a little small gray line, and then left click and then drag it to the left a little bit. And that will have it happen a little sooner. There we go, perfect. And again, the distance between the keyframes, the farther apart they are, the longer the animation takes. The closer they are, the quicker it happens. So just kind of find that good little speed that you're looking for. And there you go. Looks pretty good. I might do a little slower. All right, so that is how you work your way down the line. So let's do one more so you can kind of see what that looks like again. So again, he comes in right after. So let's go ahead and right click. Let's add an animation, add a position, and let's go ahead and select that first keyframe. And it's gonna be that same spot it's already at, so you don't have to do much moving there. Select your second keyframe, and let's go ahead and just move it on up. So about right there. And then let's go ahead and see where that puts us at. So he comes in, that's almost pretty good. Let's just adjust the speed a little bit, and let's see what that looks like. Let's pull it back just a smudge. And still a little bit off, but there we go. All right, so let's zoom in a little bit. I just want to fix this. It's bothering me. So let's go here. And there we go. All right, so we're looking pretty good, right? So let's play this back what we got so far. So we've got she pops in, animates up his text, the next one, and then the next one comes in. All right, so that is how you create a cool text animation inside of CreateStudio Pro. And again, it's once you get that initial bubbles created, remember, it's just duplicating the same things over and over again. And then what you can do is you can go ahead and select your text slide, and you can go ahead and right click it and then group it and create a master group. And then you can go ahead and rename it, and we can call this, master text, right? And then what that allows you to do is, you can then do more animations on top of that within everything inside that group. But if you select master text, you'll see that you can change out the images for each of the bubble operations that were happening as they scroll up. So you can replace them, change the color, and have that all accessible to you right there with your template that you just created, right? So you can save this for later. Maybe you want to make multiple versions of these. It allows you that flexibility that makes CreateStudio Pro so powerful. All right, so hopefully you got some really cool quick tips out of this. I can't wait to see what y'all create, and I'll catch you on the next tutorial.